Yeah, we already have 20 participants. It's a lot to start with. Hello,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen. It's really good to have you all here. And let me introduce you to let me welcome you all to the first ever podcast by the team Knowfly. The topic of today's podcast is going to be a successful university life. And hello, I am Narmeen. Let me introduce myself. I work as the Chief Innovation Officer at Team Knowfly. And here I have with me my co-host, Mr. Asher Ijaz, the CEO of Knowfly. And so let's first talk about why we are actually doing this podcast. And I like to hear what Asher has to say on this topic of why we are doing this podcast. So Asher, over to you, please.
Okay. So yeah, to basically, build your interest in today's post podcast, we actually have to understand the importance on about why to actually have a successful university life and you know what's the point of everything, right? So the reason why we are actually doing this podcast is it turns out that university life is really important, and they are the most crucial years of your life. They can decide a lot of things about your future, and if you do things right, they can actually help you a lot in your whole life. So basically, that's what we are going to actually talk about, how to make sure that you are doing everything right. You are actually taking out the worst of everything, and you are actually enjoying a university life, and you are actually, having a successful university life as a whole. And yeah, so that's
Yeah, so the crux of this podcast would be how to have a productive university life. And before we start on with the topic, I would like to talk on the subtopic of this podcast that would be to set the right expectations for the university. So when you enter the university, you do not face any sort of like shocks, right? So one of the basic things that we hear when the word university comes to our mind is the university lectures. And in amongst when like a lot of students are talking about, the hot topic is lectures aren't very helpful. So I'd like to hear what you have to say, Asher, on this topic. Like, are the lectures like really helpful or not? What do you think
yeah.
of it?
Yeah, so this is the first shocking thing you get when you transition to university, right? What do you see is the lectures in your high school had been, sort of good. They had been sort of helpful. They had been, really well taught. So when you come to university, you see them. It looks like these teachers are like being forced to teach. They just read slides. They do the job that can easily be replaced by AI, by the way. So yeah, lectures are really really boring. They suck a lot at university.
Yes.
Yeah, and 90% of the time it's just slide reading. So which leaves us to the point, okay, so if we cannot depend upon these lectures in the university, and we can now expect that lectures aren't going to be great at all at university, what we can actually do? So the remaining thing is self learning, right? And I would like to take Nermeen's like thoughts about what does she think about self learners and how it can help you in university.
Yeah. Yeah, I think well, in my opinion, self-learners like always win. And the reason behind that is, look, in high school, we learn and we're taught with the motive of passing an exam. Like I remember in CAIE, when I was about to give my OA levels exam, teachers literally used to solve questions step by step. And like they used to even, dictate us the solutions to questions that were repeated or that were expected to be there in the exam. So this sort of teaching, I suppose, induces kind of like a habit of spoon feeding, in my opinion. And before entering into the university, you definitely need to break this habit, and you need to start exploring new dimensions of learning yourself. I mean, self-learning. And you need to start taking initiatives to stimulate your learning by yourself. And so like what do you guys think? I mean, what do you guys think would be like some of the good resources for self learning? I'd like you to write that down in the chat box below. Well, in my opinion, I think for me, YouTube and Coursera were like very important resources that helped me self learn, and that also actually like introduced me to the concept of self learning. So yeah, and like there are like two major reasons, Asher, in my opinion, that the reason why you should always self learn.
Okay, so looks like Nameem's lagging. Okay. Um, okay, so
Hello.
oh yeah, Nameem's back now. Hello, Nameem.
I'm sorry. Hello. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Um, please, yeah, please tell me when I'm lagging. But like I was talking about the two reasons why you should always self-learn. And one of them would be that you end up discovering your true interests and you end up finding your passion. And if you work towards something that you're really passionate about, there are 99% of the chances that you win. And number two would be that self-learning kind of like accelerates your academic and personal growth in the sense that you're not depending on anyone to learn. So yeah, Ashok, that was like my take on self-learning. What do you think?
Yeah, so self-learning is really important, and everyone had been recently talking about it, right? That's also the first lesson that everybody teaches you at university, that you have to, do things yourself. But one of the things that everybody really struggles with is how to basically learn, right? How to be, independent, how to uh, do self-learning, and what are the methods that we can use for self-learning, what are the methods we can use for note taking, and all that stuff, right? So I would like,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts about it? Like,
Um, well, about note taking, I think I've had like quite good experiences with note taking, and like I've also had good experiences in learning how to note taking. So like, like everybody tells us to study, but nobody teaches us how to study effectively. And like, in my opinion, if you want to study effectively, and also please tell me if I'm lagging, please, so that I just don't just keep speaking. So yeah, so like one of the crux of studying effectively lies in delving deep into the science of memory formation, I suppose. And by that, I mean learning or maybe identifying how your memory is formed. So like there are three major things that can, help us study effectively. And those are three concepts. Number one is called active recall. Number two is spaced repetition. And number three is content association. And those three concepts like help me a lot. And in a way that let me explain what they actually are. So active recall and spaced repetition are like two very linked things. And let's say for example you've got your exam in 5 days, right? And you've got five subjects that you need to appear for, right? So there can be two approaches to studying for your exam. Your first approach would be to study one subject each day until the end of fifth day, and by the end of the fifth day you will be done with your learning. And approach number two, which will be the highly recommended approach, would be that you study certain amount of topics from each subject each day, right? And hence you complete all of your five subjects by the end of the fifth day. But what happens here is you're studying some amount of the subject each day. What this does is it stimulates the recall concept of your mind. And the reason this is helpful is because our brain is like basically very much is very effective in recalling rather than grasping new concepts every day. So I believe these two concepts are like, if you've got this example that I just stated, I think if you apply this to all of your learning, you are going to be very productive. You're going to be a very productive learner. Well, number three that I talked about is content association, and that is like a pretty interesting topic. And the reason for that being interesting is, well, let me tell you a story behind it. I discovered this concept early in my A levels when I used to hate chemistry, right? And chemistry involved a lot of, memorizing stuff. And I hated memorizing stuff. So but I had to give the exam because my mom wanted me to give the exam. So what I did was I was, like randomly searching learning methods on YouTube, and I came across this strategy of content association, which states that if you're learning something new, you need to associate that thing to something that is physically present in your environment. let's say for example let's say for example you're learning a certain topic in chemistry, and well, let me give you my example. I had a lot of perfumes lined up on my table back in A levels days. What I used to do was, well, when I was learning some topic of chemistry, I used to spray one of the perfumes around my room, all over the room. And what it created was that association with a certain smell to a certain topic. So when that particular topic came up in my exam, I remembered, oh, it was related to that particular aroma. And that relation caused me to recall what I had already studied at that particular time, and that aroma surrounded my room. So this is sort of like a simple concept of content association. Not necessarily do you associate things with like aroma only. You can associate it with noises or any particular feeling that you got, or anything physical that exists in this world. So yeah, I think this was like one of the things that helped me a lot. And well, the crux of all of this thing that I have just talked about is that cramming is like a bad habit. So like you need to get rid of that.
Yeah. So, that's like really true. These learning methods are something that we should really, research about, because since the day we are born, nobody actually tells us how to learn, right? Everybody just tells us to learn, but nobody actually tells us how to learn. So, yeah, that's really interesting. And you guys should really, really, research more about these three learning methods and that we just told you. And one of the most important part aside from these learning methods are being consistent, right? So consistency is basically the key in self learning, and in also you can say success for everything. Like and let's take an example, right? There is a person A who had worked extremely hard for 2 or 3 months, and now after doing so much hard work, he's like extremely stressed, and he cannot continue that pace anymore, and his energy levels go down, his effort goes down, right? Now take the example of the person B, where he had been doing consistent effort. He's not overworking, he's not underworking, but he had been strictly consistent. He shows up on the days when he doesn't feel like or she doesn't feel like, and they do everything pretty consistently, right? So that's the magic of consistency. You build great things when you are being consistent, and that's something that you have to, you will also struggle in also, because consistency is not something that will just come up in you, right? You'll have to find balance. You'll have to see, okay, how much work is actually overwork for me, how much work is like underwork for me, and you have to go find this balance, and it will take time. It will take a lot of mistakes. You will make like a lot of blunders. I did. And eventually you will find that balance, and once you do, your life is going to be really easy. Now so about consistency and learning and everything, I'd also like to recommend you guys to read two books that are like really amazing. One is the 4 hour work week, and second is Atomic Habits. These both books are really awesome. And what do you think, Narmi?
Yeah, I mean, I've read Atomic Habits. I've read all of it, and it was like really helpful. I read it in my first year of university, and like at that point, I felt like I needed it the most. About the 4 hour work week, I do have it in my on my desk, but I haven't got the time to read it yet. I hope I do get the time to read it. So
I mean,
yeah, those
guys,
are like
come
some,
on, sponsor us. Yeah.
yeah, please, please do. We'll
Okay.
be really good endorsers. Right.
Okay. So
Also, Asher, yeah, you're saying something?
yeah, I was saying before, we move on to the next segment, there have been a lot of noise in the chat section that we
Oh,
should,
yes.
read about. Okay. So, Usher, I have a question. It's by Ariba. So, is it only me, or do we transit into that self-learning phase during our A levels? Okay, so two things I'm going to say about this. First is, if you think A levels is a stage where you are self learning a lot, you are totally wrong. You are yet to be surprised by university. If you think your A level teachers suck, believe me, you have to experience that university lecturer once. So that's that. And there's a lot of people who hate chemistry like me. Okay, so yeah, okay. Now let's move on to our next segment, which is importance of networking. And I have some, really strong beliefs about networking. I personally think that you are actually just paying for networking in your university and not for lectures or basically or academics or anything, right? And the reason behind it is, I mean, like just we told, and if you are a university student yourself, you would know that lectures just suck, right? And most of your learning comes from YouTube, like Mac just mentioned in the chat, the internal pointer variable guy, those Indians that teach on YouTube.
Oh,
So
yes.
yeah. So basically, when you think like this, that you are actually paying for networking at university, things will start to make a lot of more sense now, and university life in general is going to get a lot more interesting. And we are going to talk a lot about networking in upcoming time. But I want to basically ask Nermeen, what do you think, how to actually
Hmm.
network, right?
Oh, oh, pretty interesting question. How to network? Okay. So I think one of the basic things or one of the most important things in university to help you network would be the clubs and societies. So like almost all of the universities worldwide have student clubs and societies, and you should join at least one of them. Like in my case, I'm like in three different societies in the university, although it's like hell of a workload, but then through them I got to be friends with like a lot of my seniors who have kind of like vastly helped me in academics and also in getting internship opportunities. Yes. So yeah, clubs, societies, and also I'd like to mention that one of the major source of networking in university is LinkedIn. So you have to have a LinkedIn ID. If you do not have it already, please make one. Please make a LinkedIn ID and at least have like around 200 connections. So like, yeah, I'm not going to talk much on LinkedIn because we also got a session lined up in future in this topic. So be sure to check that out. Promotions. But yeah, LinkedIn, and also I believe that you should also, like take part in competitions and events, be it intra-university or inter-university. So yeah, that. And also one of the major things that I like to mention here is that the team Knowfly actually met at a high school student run club. So, you can see the fruit of networking yourself over here in front of you. So yeah, that was a really, when we thought about this, it was like really, mind opening that okay, this is we are like examples, real life examples of networking or why you should network.
And yeah, guys, you
Yes.
you guys already know who had built that society.
Oh,
I'm just
oh
kidding.
God.
Okay. So yeah, basically Nermeen told us a lot of very important stuff about how networking is actually uh really important, and how we can, start with it. And one thing that I want to, emphasize about is everybody tells you that networking is important. If you go to LinkedIn, it's like everybody's telling you network, 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 right? And it's actually in most people's mind also, like everybody wants to make a lot of friends, right? So not
True.
everybody, sorry. But yeah, but the main thing behind all of this is, okay, I can do networking, but should I not, build myself first? So Nirmi,
Yeah.
what do you think about this? Okay, I think Nermeen has okay, Nermeen is gone again. This is embarrassing. Okay. Okay, till then I'll just, take your questions from the chat. Okay. So yeah,
Yeah,
Aisha is
hello.
right. LinkedIn is like very, very depressing. Pro tip, never open LinkedIn at night before sleeping. Okay, so
Oh,
Nermeen's back now.
okay. I'm
Hey.
I'm like, off and on. Well, what were you talking about? What were we talking about?
Yeah, so we were talking about, how to actually build yourself and your profile before we actually get into marketing. Oh, sorry, networking.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, networking. Yeah, so basically, although like networking means getting to know new people, but I believe the essence of networking relies on how productive your conversation is and how valuable you are to the next person, right? Because like let's just say there's like a skill-less guy, a guy with no skills, right? And he has connections to Bill Gates, but that guy isn't special, right? Is it? Is he? Because I mean, what is he even going to do with his connections to Bill Gates when he does not have any value to offer to him? Or, I mean, when he does not have any skills, he cannot extract any value from Bill Gates himself, such as getting a job or getting an internship. So I believe that, like the essence of networking relies on how productive your conversation is and how valuable you are to the next person to for him to like even remember you after the conversation is over. So what I'm actually trying to talk about here, or the point that I'm trying to make here is, before you even start networking, you need to build yourself up to be more presentable physically, socially, ideologically, or via your skill set. So kind of, I mean, how you can do that, you can like try to find a common ground between the ways you can make this world a better place and your interests and goals. So and also you need to start working on that ASAP, because networking is as soon as possible thing, a thing you should do as soon as possible. So try to find the common ground between the ways you can make this world a better place and um, your interests and goals in this world. Yeah. And also, I believe there's like, I think we missed one of the key points of why one should network. And that would be, in my opinion, to, sort of like utilize your connections with maybe seniors or classmates for jobs and internships. Because I mean, like, I remember one of the internships that I currently have is because of one of my seniors. So, and I believe, Ashir, you have a lot of experience in with regard to this as well. So would you like to speak up on that?
Yeah, sure. So, guys, just as we are talking right now, I have offers for software engineering internship at two, multi-million-dollar startups of Pakistan, SadaPay and Bluefin, which is
Big
a
flex, guys.
cryptocurrency exchange. Yeah, I'm not trying to flex, guys. Come on. But, the point I'm trying to make here is, if you have connections and if you utilize them right, you can also be at my place, right? So let's talk about this, like about these offers. Do I have anything very special in my skill sets that actually makes me have them? No. Personally, I think no.
Really? Really? No, Asha, you do have actually a lot of a very wide skill set. But yeah, continue.
Okay, so yeah, I'll accept that, but there can be a lot more people more hardworking than me with a lot more skill sets and
Yeah,
everything. But the key
yeah,
thing here is these connections, right? I personally had these connections through my brother, and my brother had these friends who were working as a software engineer in these companies. So I was able to connect with these people and ask for referrals and everything. So yeah, this is how actually connections work. If you have made right connections in your 4 years of university or 3 years of university, if you are studying in UK, you can actually use them to actually never be stressed about having a job, right? So one main thing is, okay, we have talked about how to utilize them, right? We can have internships through referrals, we can have jobs, we can even have be a part of their startups through referrals. But the thing is how to actually approach these people, right? How to actually network. So about that, I want to talk about two ways, right? First way that is really common is actually be friends in person. That's something that's like very common and everything. The second way is approaching people online, especially approaching your university graduates online. And the thing is, one of the reason why everybody joins a reputable university is also their graduates. Like, let's take example of Harvard. Does Harvard teaches something really really special in their classes? No, maybe, but not something that is not being taught anywhere else. The main thing about
uh-huh,
Harvard is they're graduates, right? And you can have that connection with them. You can introduce yourself to those graduates. You can tell them I'm an Harvard boy myself, and then you can build connections from there. So basically, the online how online connections work is, let's say you are applying for a job, right? And you research that there are some people from your university, some graduates or your classmates or someone who are already working in that company, right? And you have a LinkedIn ID. Again, LinkedIn is really important. You have a LinkedIn ID where you can actually reach these people out. And it's not like, just you can just reach them out and be like, bro, I need job. It's not like that. So what you need to do is first introduce yourself, and it shouldn't be like 100 paragraphs of about yourself. It should be kept
yeah,
short. And then you have to introduce your skill set and your values to them. Okay, I have this skill set, I have made these projects from this skill set. Show them something that is actually visible, that they can actually see and get impressed by. And then at the last, put your your main reason for reaching out to them, which is, okay, I'm really excited about joining your company that you currently work at, and there's this job opening that I'm applying for. Can I please get a referral? So this way you can even utilize the online connections. So yeah.
yeah. And people are, I mean, people are trying to make you their best friend for networking. Good scene, I would
Yeah.
say.
Guys, I can't see. I'm just kidding. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Also,
so Mhm. Yeah, Nirmin, please go on.
yeah, I was saying, I mean, referrals and all of these things aside, I think since we've talked about personality development, I think we should shed a little more light on that. And, like, in my opinion, let me talk about how one could develop their personality. Since we talked about before, reaching out to people, before connecting with people, you need to have a good personality. So the question arises how to develop your personality. And in my opinion, I believe that, your friends define you. Like, the second most influential people in your life are your friends after your family. And for some people who spend more time with their friends, I mean, like, friends are the most influential people in their life. So kind of, in my opinion, we kind of like, attain certain habits or influences consciously or unconsciously from our friends. So let's say, for example, if your group of friends are all startup founders, let's say, for example, and they push themselves to do something big in life, there are around 99% chances that you might open your startup too. Obad, listen to me. I mean, you wanted to be the CEO, so you can be friends with Usher. So yeah, so like if your group of friends are like all nerds and geeks, you are going to become a nerd and geek. And if your group of friends is like all about partying, you will become all about partying. Although I'm not saying that partying is a bad thing, but sacrificing studies for parties is kind of like a bad thing. So in my opinion, one of the most, like fastest way to develop your personality is to find people who are of the same personality, the kind of personality that you kind of want to develop, and be friends with them, right? So I would like to state something over here, and that would be that I remember there was this podcast of Lex Fridman. I don't know if you guys know him or not, but he's like he holds this podcast. He's an MIT lecturer, big thing. And he holds this podcast, and I heard his podcast with Mark Zuckerberg, where Mark was talking about how Facebook came into being. And one of the major things he talked about was that the group of friends he had at school and university influenced him towards making Facebook rather than any other factor. So, I mean, like, in short, kind of like where you might end up in life will be greatly influenced by your group of friends. And the university years are like very crucial years. So you kind of do big stuff in these years. So you might just end up starting $1 million business or getting an internship or a job at Google, or like start like biggest non-profit organization, or maybe you just might end up wasting your life, god forbid. So it all of this kind of like depends on the kind of people you surround yourself with. And the people you surround yourself with, the kind of people you can choose to surround yourself with, is the kind of friends you make. About family, you cannot choose that, but about friends you can choose that. So yes, I mean, like, you have to choose your friends very very consciously, and choose intellectual friends and make friends kind of like consciously. So this is something that I really want to state here about personality development. And I believe, like, if you really want to talk about personality development, clubs and societies that we talked about earlier, they kind of like also play a major role. But I believe your friends, I mean, through clubs and societies, you're again, approaching friends, right? Approaching networking. So kind of people you surround yourself with plays the most crucial role in where you end up in the next 5 to 10 years. Yes.
Yeah.
So
So, mhm. So we have been like talking so many things that we need to do, right? And it's like at this point, it might seem really stressful that, oh, shit, okay, I have to do networking, I have to develop myself, I have to do this, I have to read this book, I have to do that. The thing is, you need to relax and you do not need to do everything at this, at this current time, right? These are all the steps that you can apply in your whole university life. University is like 3 to 4 years long, right? So what one way you can apply this is make a list of everything we just told you, right? And pick one thing from it and try to be good at it. Once you are good at that, then try to jump to the second thing and then jump to the third thing. Like you can take the first 1 or 2 years of your university life to be actually better at developing your own personality and developing your own skills, and then you can figure out the whole networking part in the third and fourth year of your university, right? So this is something that you need to take care about. And now that we have talked so much about networking and all that stuff, and it's being really stressful, let's talk about mental health. What do you say, Nirmal?
hello, hello.
Yeah. So Nirmi, I was asking, what do you think about, managing mental health at university?
Yeah, in my opinion, I think you kind of like have to learn how to say no. That is one of the major things you need to do. And I want to state something here, and that would be like quote unquote, kind of like letting go of an opportunity for the sake of freeing some of your time for yourself in the day is not equivalent to being ungrateful. I hope I'm not lagging.
Yeah, you're not.
Okay. And like, in the sense that, I mean, you do not need to sacrifice your mental or physical health for the sake of availing 100% of the opportunities you're presented with. And that does not count. I mean, not availing maybe 1%, 2%, or maybe even 10 to 20% of the opportunities you're presented with does not count as being ungrateful, right? Why? Because let's say you are availing 100% of the opportunities in whatever opportunities they may be. Let's say you're availing all of them, but let's just say you're availing them at the risk of your health. So I believe that would be a pretty bad thing to do, because guys, health is wealth, right? If you do not have health, you do not have wealth. And by networking, by all of this, what you approach is you approach, attaining wealth or being wealthy in whatever manner, maybe in knowledge, wealthy in, in terms of money or whatever. So yes, so yeah, you should probably learn to say no. And also you should like probably set boundaries between hardworking and overworking. I think this is like one of the things that I'd like to talk on. So I mean, like, if I talk about myself, I'm like in three societies, leading two of them, like playing a crucial role in leading two of those societies. I am doing an internship. I am tutoring two students online, and if you may ask me the subject, I'm tutoring them further maths. I am also trying to build Knowfly with these guys, and I'm also managing my studies side by side. And before I move on to the point that I'm trying to make with this, I would also like to say that I'm like really, really passionate about astronomy, photography, filmmaking, videography, and I love to play piano as well. But I mean, I'm literally not flexing here, and just listen to the point I'm trying to make here. And the point that I'm trying to make here is, because I have taken too much responsibility on myself in terms of career building or in terms of societies that I've joined, I do not kind of find enough time to focus on the things that I'm passionate about. And the reason I'm telling you this is to state that this is not at all a good thing. You need to set boundaries, because I mean, like, I would like to state a principle called the Pareto principle. I don't know if you guys are like familiar with it or not. It's spelled as Pareto, Pareto principle. It states that like 80% of the benefit comes from 20% of the effort. So, I mean, like, guys, don't sacrifice your passion for that extra 80% hard work slash effort. I mean, like, passion, pursuing your passion is more important than piling up all of the things, all of the things in terms of, in terms of hard working, or at the face of hard working, because you need to have a solid boundary between hardworking and overworking. And that is one of the crucial things to understand when you talk about mental health and university life. So I think that was one of the things that I needed to talk about. Um,
Yeah, and I mean,
Other than
like
that,
one thing I would like to mention is like
yeah, yeah.
this whole mental health thing is like extremely important, right? And this is something many people neglect, and at times I'd be neglecting it too. Like I have two gray hairs at age 20. But yeah, basically this is really bad, and I would like to use this platform to tell you guys something. If your university has a mental health department, you should actually not think about it as like a mental ill people asylum. right? And it's a
Yeah.
place where you can have a lot of benefits from, right? And I personally now regularly visit it, and there's a lot of things that I actually get out of it. Like the mental health counselors there can help you get out of bad habits that you alone cannot, right? Sometimes you need a partner to get out of bad habits. So they can be one. They can actually give you some external support. You can share stuff safely with them. You can make sure, like, they won't judge you, right? And they can give you pretty awesome advices on how to approach each aspect of your life. I regularly take advices from mental health counselor at a university. I ask them, okay, I have this problem, how do I approach this? And I ask them, okay, what's the healthy way of doing this particular task? So they can give you really good advice on stress management, on anxiety management, on pretty much everything you might be struggling mentally, right? And sometimes students struggle with conditions that are undiagnosed, like ADHD. And these people actually help you discover yourself, discover your brain, discover why you are the way you are, right? And just as science of physical health is important, and people actually research about it and you learn about it, it's actually really, really important that you learn about mental health as well. So yeah, okay. So
Yes,
yeah,
that's a really good point, because there's like the social stigma of associating mental health offices with mental illness, which is kind of like not true at all. So yeah, and like I mean, we've been talking about personality development, mental health, but we have ignored one. I don't know if you guys have noticed or not, but we have ignored one most important thing relating to the university life, and that is the GPA. Um, so Asher, a very
yeah.
straightforward question I'm putting up to you. Does GPA matter? When and when does it not?
Yeah, so this is a great question. And this whole culture that the youngster are actually building these days are that GP doesn't matter, and university doesn't matter. It's just a skill that matters, and all that stuff. Let's talk, like, really, really talk about where does GP actually matter and where does it not, right? The first thing is, when
Okay.
does your GP really matter, right? And the place is, I want you all now to think of yourself as a CEO of Knowfly. Just think, okay? Just kidding. Yeah.
Where's Zubair?
Now,
Where's Zubair? Again.
yeah. So now you want to hire newly, graduated people, like university graduates, and now put yourself at this position. There are students who have good GPA, right? Uh, and GPA is basically the only thing that you have about them. That is actually about how they spent the last 4 years of their life. And these are newly graduated students, right? They do not have large scale impactful product projects. Most of them do not. So you just have to judge them from the profile they have right now and decide if you want to hire them or not. So it's quite obvious that you will actually end up hiring the ones who have high GPA, especially when they are new graduates. So GPA does matter when you are a new graduate, but there can be some exceptions here, which I'll tell now in when GPA does not matter, right? So there are two cases when GPA does not matter. First is, you have such amazing projects or experience in your field that can actually complement that less GPA of yours. Like if you have 3 GPA, and but you also have a lot of work experience, industry experience, you have done a lot of really cool projects in your life, in your university life, then the companies would be like, okay, this guy have balanced it a bit. He didn't only focused on university, that is why he doesn't or she doesn't have 4 GPA or something, right? So that's the first case. And now the second
People
case
are talking
is,
about my 4 GPA in the comment section. I don't know why.
oh, yeah. So yeah, that means like a super intelligent, being from the beginning,
Being,
having straight A's
not a
and A
human
star.
being.
No, not a human at all. So yeah, let me come back to the second point that I wanted to mention, like when your GPA won't matter. The second point is when you have some, work experience. Now let's say you are applying, like let's say you have been in the industry for 7 years, right? You want to apply for a job as a manager somewhere, and should you be worried that my GPA sucked? No, not at all, because nobody will care about your GPA at that point, nobody at all, right? And what they will see is, okay, that's 7 years of work experience of yours. Where did you where were you working? What did you worked on? All that stuff, right? So that's the two cases where your GPA will actually will not matter, right? And I will also like to talk about, like, when what does your GPA really define about you? So if you think about it, there are courses in your university life that are not that interesting. There are some courses that are very interesting. You go through a lot in your university life. You might be going through difficult time in your personal life, right? All of these things also happen after university life. It's not like you have been in university, you have been struggling a lot personally in some sort of cases of your personal life, and it will just somehow get fixed after you graduate from university. It doesn't work like that. So when employers are actually seeing this GPA, they do know that this student might be struggling with external things. And people do struggle all their lives. That's like, that's something just you just cannot avoid, right? So yeah, GPA actually defines how well you might be able to do task when you are under pressure. When there's a boring project assigned to you, will you be like, will you do it with your heart and make it completed at the time, or will you be like, nah, I'm not gonna do it because it's boring, or I'll just get away with it? So this is actually something that is really valuable for employers. And GP also tells how much self-control you have, how much dedication you have, how consistent you are as a person. So yeah, I've been talking a lot about GPA right now. So yeah, Nirmi, on to
Yeah,
you.
this has been a very enlightening topic to talk on, because honestly, I mean, like, if I talk about the crux of all this GPA topic that we've been talking about, it depends on the type of person you are, right? So if you're the kind of person who's not that much interested in studies, rather you're pursuing a project that is like making a really, really good positive impact on the world, so nobody, I mean, it would highly not be recommended for you to ditch that project and work on your GPA, because that project is going to lead you far more than your GPA is going to lead you to. So it all depends on the kind of person you are. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of our podcast, first ever podcast by Team Knowfly, and I hope you might have attained or grasped some of the core concepts, some of the core valuable material out of this podcast. And yeah, so like, let's move on. Ashar, what do you say? Let's move on to the Q&A. Let's see what questions we have in the chat box.
Yeah, like people have been, crazy at the chat, I can see. So let's take questions from everybody now. Okay, so Walid has been posting really cool stuff that I would like to read aloud. So Walid
Mhm.
Mukhtar just said, I have too many 2 cents to drop, but I'll type this up. As Ashar Bhai drops his wisdom, GPA does matter. Of course it does. Theoretical knowledge matters. I'll never ever say that practical knowledge and skills don't, because these, at least in my opinion, are directly influenced by the theoretical knowledge. The theoretical knowledge you gain or already have will help you apply and use your practical skills much better, if you ask me. But I mean, I think a balance of everything does matter. Huh? If you build up your skills while you gain your theoretical knowledge as well, I'd say it will help you out even more. Yeah, Walid, I like agree 100% with you. This is basically everything. This is the best advice. Basically, you have to, have a balance of everything. And at this point, again, I like to mention everything would seem stressful, but you do not need to figure out everything since the day one or since in the first year. You need to take your time, and you will take your time. Okay. So yeah, everything matters. Your practical skills obviously matter a lot. And let's see what other questions we have. Nermeen, would you like
Why are
to
people
answer
talking about?
more?
Yeah,
Uni
why are people
jargon.
talking about
Yeah.
my GPA?
Okay, someone leaked your personal info.
Okay, someone asked what is a good GPA? What in your
Hmm.
opinion is a good GPA?
Okay, so I think like what I have been researching about, like I've been into this counseling industry as well. When you are applying to
Major
masters and
flex.
yeah, PhD and stuff, right? So what I have seen is if you have a GPA which is 3.5 and above, you are like at a pretty good zone. You don't have to worry about anything ever, right? But yeah, so other than that, I think yeah, 3 and above is also cool, but yeah, below 3 is like really bad.
Okay. Does someone have any questions? Does someone want to speak onto the mic? We are open for that. Please raise your hands. And in the meanwhile, we'll wait for Usher to rejoin. I think well, guys, internet connection is screwed up all around the world. It's not just Pakistan.
Yeah, guys, sorry, I'm back. So yep, let's see what other questions we have now.
Mm, I'm thinking maybe like everyone should share their study tip. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. If anyone has to say anything regarding their study tips, sure, mic is yours. Chemistry from Bilal Hamid. Oh, yes, Bilal Hamid was like very helpful. Notes by Narmeen. Oh, shit.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
hello.
Yeah, hello. Sorry if I sound really bad because my throat's basically gone. But as someone mentioned about the study tips, I'll just try to keep it short. Essentially, what I feel like is in the Pakistani society and the Desi society itself, ritualization or rote memorization essentially is really encouraged. While it does work for in the short term, like maybe you'll get some good grades and all that stuff in your CIEs or your school exams or mocks or whatever. Uh, it's not really gonna help you in the long run because I feel like the concepts that you learn are really important. You need to have a good understanding and good grasp on the concepts that are being taught to you. Otherwise, it's really not helping anyone. Like the grades and marks you're getting, they're gonna be there just for the namesake of it. However, if you end up understanding the concept much better, it should be, it should help you out much more in the long run. As in, that as I mentioned before, the theoretical knowledge and everything, it'll really help you out. And yeah, so just in short, in conclusion, just focus on
understanding the concepts, and there are many ways to do that on the internet. It's a wide world, essentially. It's a huge portal. You can learn everything you want to.
Yeah, thank you so much, Walid, for your response. That was a very insightful thing to talk on, because, of course, like rote learning is like very temporary, limited to the date of your exam. But if you end up understanding the concept, it's gonna take you far more than that. So yeah, anybody else who wants to speak up?
Yeah. I'd like to actually, mention one thing for
Oh,
Mac.
yes.
Yeah. So, this whole idea of quantifying how much hours did you put into studying and all that stuff. I personally think it's basically, not a good way to actually quantify things. And this is actually sometimes taught from childhood, that, oh man, I had been studying from the last 8 hours. Oh man, I had been studying from the last 12 hours. The key to actually, studying effectively is focus, right? And focus is something that when you actually be focusing and, thinking about your own focus, you will figure out a lot of things about yourself too. So focus is can, make you study for your whole exam in just 4 hours. And if you aren't studying with like a proper focus, you can be spending that whole thing that you wanted to study about in maybe 12 hours, in maybe 14 hours. And this is, I think this is pretty common knowledge here. But what you should be doing is actually, working towards it, and not be like, okay, I need to focus. That's not how things gonna work, right? You actually need to, note down your time. You actually need to mute your mobile phone. That advice that parents give, throw away your phone, that actually works. You guys should also research about this, that when your mobile phone rings or there's a notification bell, and let's say you are at your 90% focus level, your focus level will actually drop a lot, and it will drop to 30, 20, 10% even. And if you like pick up the phone, then zero, obviously. And this is something that happens subconsciously as well, right? So yeah, try to be in a place where there's no phone, there's no bell. This whole idea of notification bells has been there because they wanted to distract you from whatever you are doing currently. So yeah, make sure you are focusing right and not quantifying yourself or your studying time with anything else.
Yes,
Can I
thank
say
you so
something?
much, Asher.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Hi everyone, it's Liva here. I'm also a co-founder of Knowfly. And while I mean, guys, Naveen and Asher, you guys did absolutely amazing with the podcast. Like amazing, amazing, amazing. It was like, I mean, for like the first podcast, I think you guys set a benchmark, and I'm really hoping we can. I mean, in the future podcasts and everything, I hope we can bring the bar up. And I'm so happy to see everyone being like so interactive in the chat. And I think that was also one of the biggest factors where which gave a lot of energy to Nermeen and Usher as well to carry on this podcast with the same energy throughout the whole session and not let the energy die towards the end. And I'm honestly so proud of this team, of all the insiders here. Also, Magdalena, thank you for the nice question. So initially, I just wanted to talk about the study tips, but I had to appreciate the team. So yeah, about the study tip, I think one thing that I realized when I mean, I have been very much into extracurricular activities, like all throughout my school life. I was very like I would take academics and extracurriculars together. And then one thing I realized when I came to university was like I didn't want to let that like die down. I wanted to continue academics and extracurriculars together. Um, and so I think when you are doing side hustles or when you're basically investing time in like either developing skills or doing something that you're passionate about, you kind of end up having this desire to study as well. So like for example, if I'm doing something like I'm doing an internship work or I'm working with Knowfly and I've done like spent enough time on doing the work for Knowfly or doing my internship work, I actually find an interest later on in like studying. So I'm like, okay, now I've done something that I love and now I can just put a few hours or a bit of time or complete a few things on my schedule when it comes to my courses. So I think when you kind of divide your time or you kind of divide your workload in the way where you're not just constantly studying courses or constantly doing internship work or job work, I think that keeping that balance between the two or three things, I think that just allows you to just explore more and just be a little more productive. And then, it's just like a little more fun because you're just jumping from one thing to another and then you're keeping things different. So you just don't get bored and it's not monotonous. So yeah, that's one of the things that I learned throughout university and school life that kind of helped me because like it just keeps things exciting that way where I'm just like, oh, I did this today and then I'm gonna do this the other day. And then it's different. It's not routine because I'm one of those people who like spontaneous things. So yeah, that's one of my tips. And I will hand it over to Nermeen. Thank you.
Thank you, Laiba, for your valuable input. Thank you so much. And yeah, if does anyone else have any questions, because we are 3 minutes into our ending time. So if you guys do not have any questions, it was really good to have you all here. It was really fun interacting with you on the chat, on the voice. Thank you, Magdalena, for your question. And thank you everybody for joining. I think nobody has any other questions. So let me just say goodbye. Let's all just say goodbye. And it was really fun having you all here. Looking forward to seeing you in the next podcast. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care. Bye.